Okay, good morning, everybody. Welcome to Coffee and Art in the Morning. I'm Dee Dee, and I have a couple of shows planned today. The first one being that we're going to do a little bit more in the idea notebook. And the last couple of episodes have been either an hour and a half. But as the shows go on, if I do one like every Monday for about 30 minutes, they're probably going to be, unless we get on a roll about something in particular, they're probably going to be shorter because I'm just going to like update you every week about ideas you can add to it. And also, I want to try to give you, I don't want to call it homework. I don't want to call it a prompt or, I don't want, I want you to at least write it down. Write it down so that sometime you can do it. But it's not something want you to have to feel like you have to do any of it. It's just for your idea collecting and because I want you to use the ideas too. So I did a little bit more work in mine this morning before I came on here, and I'll go ahead and spend about 30 minutes going over that, and that'll be this recording. And then I'll stop that recording, and then we're going to do some jelly plating today. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to break out the rubber stamps. So we're going to do rubber stamps and jelly plating after I do the idea collecting segment. Okay, so any questions? Hey, CB. Hello, everybody. Thanks for being here. I think I've said hi to everybody before I hit record, so I won't go through that again. But thanks, everybody, for being here. I know my show's kind of early. It's 9 here, Eastern time, East Coast time. And so I know that a lot of people that are in our group are West Coast, and and it's a little early for them. But that's why I record. So I try to make sure and record every show and upload them to YouTube. So if you're watching YouTube, I'm here with a live audience talking in a chat, and so you'll hear me interacting with people. I'll try to repeat the questions if if it's something that I think is part of the necessary for the segment. Otherwise, you'll hear me repeat myself a lot when people come and go. So just, if that's not your type of show, then there's thousands of other YouTubes out there. So this is basically, it's my shows are long, but that's because I'm doing these live. All right. Oh, and there's Jan. Oh, before we get started, let me show a couple of happy mails. I keep this here for those that don't know. This is my camera focus stuff. The camera likes to focus on some big, bold something and color like this. Also, my paper is black. I cover my table with black paper. White is cameras don't like white, and it usually flashes them out. I do have my desk journal sitting right next to me, opened onto some blank pages so that when I do the jelly plating segment shortly, I'll have a place to brayer off the excess paint. Okay, so moving on. I got some great birthday cards, and I just want to share a couple of them. This one was from Susan Ribbons, and it's all sparkly and glittery. And so thanks, Susan. It's so pretty, and there's layers, and there's jewels, and there's sequins, and it was just nice. She wrote me a nice little note on the inside, too. And then from Janet. Janet, hi, good morning. Thanks for being here. I'm going to cover up the addresses, but I gotta say, Janet writes, this is really her writing. Let me show you the card first. That is how Janet writes. So on the card, she actually wrote the addresses that concisely. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to cut this out. I'm going to cut the sock monkey and my address out and put that in my Hobonichi. And and so that I don't have to cut the card, I can just cut the little sock monkey off of the envelope because it's just as cute as can be. So it says, so what do you want for your birthday? Books, paint, calendars, crayons, colored pencils? Did I hear you say a sock monkey card? That was just so cute, Janet. I love it. And then Sandra had hers all packaged up real nice. Let me see. This one's from my mom, and I won't read that one. She sent me she really got a perfect card. Thanks, Mom. And so anyway, Sandra, again, let me cover up any addresses. She had her tag she made me with a little in a bag, in a bag, in a bag. But look at it. I think she made these on, well, I know she made them on one of her streams. And Xander, links are open if you want to put the link to your stream in there. I usually have to watch hers on recording because I think, is it Monday nights you stream most, or what night do you usually stream? You stream odd times, Xandra. But yeah, if y'all don't get to go there live, watch her recordings. But look, she made me one of her fuzzy bears. It's fur. Faux fur, people. Faux fur. I'm not sure what it is. Maybe it's flocking. It could be flocking. I'm just so teasing. I'm so teasing you guys. All right. So anyway, it's got appliques, like dress appliques, those pretty lacy appliques. And then she put my birthday. She has some lace down here. It's a big giant tag. Look, let me see. Let me get that over here. It is a little over 8 inches by 3.5. It's so cute. I know, the flocking bear. I know it's got, and all the glitter and the stickles. I know HD Diane's probably jealous of that because she loves her stickles. It's extra thick mulberry paper. Okay. I couldn't remember. So anyway, it's so cute and so fun, just so happy. It just makes you smile. Thank you so much, Sandra. So Xander, put your link into your channel in there for everybody that may not know you. Okay, so let me set these aside because I don't want paint on them when we get paint to flying. All right, the other thing that I wanted to show was that I got. I was telling everybody before I hit record that I was looking for the new Danny Gregory book at Barnes and Noble this weekend, and it's called Art Before Breakfast. I'm pretty sure Art Before Breakfast. It's Danny Gregory's new book, and I thought it was out because I seen all these pictures on the internet of people reading the book in different locations and stuff. So maybe it was just a promo thing, and a bunch of Danny's friends got books ahead of time. I don't know. Anyway, but Barnes and Noble said it's not going to be out till the 17th, which was really kind of disappointing. I was hoping to have it and come show it to y'all today, but when I do get it, I will show it, of course. And you can see, I believe you can see some of it on the inside of it on Amazon. So, thanks, Xandra. Yeah, Xandra17 is Xandra's Ustream show. Hi, Moomy and Bridget and anybody else I might have missed coming in. So I did pick this up, and I always check, if you do not do this, make sure you do. When you're looking for art books, creativity, go to the children's section. You will find the coolest books in the children's section. And so, is that bright enough, guys? The light kind of went. There we go. Okay. And this one's over 100 things to draw, doodle, and design. Now, it's not necessarily that I need to know how to draw a hedgehog or a bicycle, and you can get all that kind of stuff, on Google Images and all this stuff. But what I thought this would be fun for is when, and I haven't really planned a show around it, but maybe some things about, oh, I don't know what to draw. Well, we're going to have plenty of things to draw, not just from this book, but from others. But what it basically is, other than it tells kids the basic materials, most art books have that kind of thing, and basic techniques, shading, line work, that kind of thing. But then it gets into, let me go to the contents. It has 100 different, I think, yeah, over 100 different things that to draw, like portraits, a hedgehog, hot air balloons, fashion girls, grizzly bear, race car, profiles, penguins, electric guitar, a rose, boy, a fashion clothes for boys, meerkats, t-shirts, pirate ship, Main Street, Statue of Liberty. I mean, it's just, a dancing dog, an urban bridge, a manga, Frankenstein, volcano. I mean, it's just all kinds of things. So it's just kind of a great idea book. Plus, it does show you how to, if you're, still in the learning how to draw stage, which all of us improve in drawing the more we practice. So we never, we never outgrow practice. Never, ever outgrow practice. Um, and so it just kind of gives you some basic little things. It's mostly for kids, but I mean, look how well they did like there's a skateboarder, you know? I mean, it's just kind of, and I just like the whole graphics of it. I like the lettering. I like there's the cool zombies, there's a volcano. I mean, just all kinds of caricatures, a crocodile, monsters in jars. I mean, you can just see how fun this book is for kids of any age. Harriet. So anyway, we'll probably do some stuff out of this as far as maybe adding some of these kind of things to our idea notebook. Speaking of which, we're going to move on to that now. I'm going to cover a little bit more in the idea notebook here, and then let me move this. And then what we'll do is stop this recording. And if you're just coming in, after that, I'm going to do a separate show with jelly plating and rubber and acrylic and foam stamps, whatever kind of stamps we want to use. All right, so I'm going to once again just quickly tell you the table of contents that we have so far. And what I'm going to try to do is every week, and I have room for more. I've got plenty more room for more topics. But what I want to try to do is every Monday for maybe 30 minutes or so is just kind of give you some more things to add to your idea notebook. All right. Um, I even have a questionnaire over here for questioning other artists on what they like to do. So I have a questionnaire I'm working on over here and other things. So what I'll do is if I've added something or thought of something, and I've been writing down a sub little list over here to make sure and tell you what I've added to mine. Now yours is of course going to be different depending on what you use yours for. But what I want us to try to do is every week I want to try to give you something to explore. We'll put it that way. It's not really going to be homework. It's going to be like something you can explore. If y'all have any questions, put them in caps so I know you're asking me because the chat rolls and I miss things if I don't know that they're for me. Okay, so two things. One is I wanted to let me tell you the contents real quick. My art, which is mine, and you would put my art for you, your main one or two things that you do the most. Then number two is any secondary art that you do. Like, I might do collage, mixed media, or portraits as my first one, but my second one might be other things like murals. I'm just giving you an example. But I want you to put everything else you do under number two. Three is mind maps, lists, and charts. Four, supplies and tools. Five is techniques. Now we have subtopics for each of these, so you'll have to go back and if you want to get more in depth of each of these things, watch episode 1 or 2. This is episode 3. 6 is color. 7 is topic, words, and themes. 8 is plans, projects, and to do. 9 are sources like online books or friends, for an example. 10 is references. I have current and historical. And they're going to break out probably into even more things. But what this is to do is to organize all your post-it notes, your molies, your composition books, any place that you draw, write, and scribble your ideas. It's not made to be a sketchbook. Although you will sketch out ideas, it's not made to be your sketchbook. It's to be your idea collecting and organizing and how to use those ideas. So you're going to have more written things in here. It's not a journal, it's not a planner, it's not a date keeper, it's not a list, although I do have prompt lists in here. It's not for prompts. It's for your ideas that you want to collect, keep, not forget, and figure out how to use. So that's the whole premise of the idea collecting and organizing. All right. That being said, all right, so hey, Carrie, anybody else has popped in? So I want to go over color real quick. And this is just the way I've numbered them. You don't have to number them. You can number them however you want. If your topics, words, and themes is more important, do you put that up there one or, I put my art and my secondary art as 1 and 2 because I want to be able to incorporate all these ideas into what I do. If you're a writer primarily, you're going to have your writing things primary up there, and then this would be your ways to organize. But then you'll have different kind of topics as well. Like if you do more writing, you're going to have things like your characters and things like that, um, your plots and things like that, that I don't have categories for those because I'm not a writer. All right. So the numerical sequence does not matter so much. Just these are just the way I've added them. I have room for more, and I have more tabs for more that I haven't used yet. I find it easier for me just to have them numerical and then just have my tabs numbered. So I know that number one is my art, etc. All right. So on to color, which is my tab number 6. And what I wanted to do is I talked a little bit about color combinations last week. So, and if you, I don't want to call it homework. I just want you to get it on a Post-it note and stick your Post-it note in your idea collector until you feel like working on color. Don't feel like just because I tell it to you this week, you have to do something with it this week. That's not necessary, but it is necessary if you want to collect the ideas to at least write the ideas down on a Post-it note, put the Post-it note in your notebook, and at least do that until you get back to wanting to do more with color, words, techniques, whatever it is that you really are interested in at that time. So last week we talked a little bit about color combinations, and I did go ahead and stick a few. I didn't stick them all in here, but I did put a few of my color combination from Design Seeds that we'd worked on a few months ago. And what this is just a great way for you to collect color combinations. It doesn't have to be through design-seeds.com. It can be paint chips, it can be whatever. But Design Seeds will send you two charts every day in their email, or if you follow them on Twitter, Facebook, Pinterest, they're all over the place. And then just have good color combinations that you may not think of using. This may be an obvious one, yellow, orange, and red, but what about a hot pink thrown in there? You know, that kind of thing. So they give you 6 color combinations, and then they'll show you a photograph of something. Like I don't even know the photos that they showed with these. I just made up my own like little combinations here just for our show that we did a while back. But what this does is helps you think of different color combinations that you may not have thought of before. They give you 6. Um, at least you want to make lists, and I've done lists of my own with 2 color combinations, 3 color combinations, and 4 color combinations. The 6 color combinations I just use like these Design Seeds paint chips, home accents, home decor, paint chips, that kind of thing. But you want to make your own color combinations of what you like. Like I used the example last week, we all kind of like red and teal. Let me just grab a couple of like some washi tape here. Everybody loves red and teal together. So make sure, make sure I don't go too dark here. If it gets dark, guys, let me know and I'll manually brighten up my camera settings. It's a rainy day here, so I'm relying totally on 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 lights. It's still a little on the dark side. So under color combinations 2 with a circle, I wrote turquoise and red. You could, and then if you want under 3 color combinations, maybe you like turquoise, red, and lime green. So make you a list of your own color combinations. If you want, like here, you could use your Neocolors, your watercolor pencils, your even just plain old Crayola crayons to just sketch out or just make them a little check mark, a little square, a little something showing those color combinations. In my combination list like 2, 3, and 4, I just write the colors. Like I write turquoise and red. And then under column with 3, turquoise, red, and lime. That sort of thing. Because it's easier and quicker when you have the idea in your head just to do it with a pen. If you try to get your supplies out every time you have an idea, you're going to get sidetracked and start, not that there's anything wrong with that occasionally, but if you're just wanting to collect your ideas, you want just to write them down quickly. All right, so these are from the other notebook that we did before with different color combinations, and I just threw them in here for an example for you. I don't know that I'll do every design seed in this book, but I just put them in here so you can see how it kind of works. The other thing to do, if you do color combinations, you can develop them further like we have here. And I say we because we did this on a live show a couple months back, few months back, is then map out what those colors, what you think of when you think of those colors, or something you know are those colors. Like here we had light green, yellow, a berry color, purple, and a salmon. You know, you wouldn't have thought to throw that salmon color in there. I wouldn't have. But here's then kind of like map out, like I put lime, lemon, berries, salmon. That to me, that color reminded me of grapefruit and grapes. So all this is just like a bowl of fruit for me, you know. But if you write that out, and then you can even mind map out further from those words. But it gives you a place to doodle on and expand your ideas. All right. Are y'all with me? So I have a few of those in here with just some of the design seed color combinations. All right. So I wanted to clarify that and to make sure that you start making lists of combinations. The other thing that I covered last week that I'll just say quickly is also color names. If you want to just make a square of yellow, a square of red, you know, your basic maybe, 10, 15 main colors. And then that way you'll be able to write out every color name when you come across names for yellow, lemon, sunshine, all the different, and paint chips are the best way to find color names. Paint chips, even design seeds, any place that they name colors. And what that does is that sparks your imagination for other things, not just doesn't just keep it on that particular green. It expands you to thinking of other things that are green that you may not think about all the time. But if you write them down, I'm not saying you have to use every idea that comes to you immediately or even in the near future. But if you write these things down, you will always have a reference book for all the ideas that come to you. And like I said, I try to keep a notebook or even a post-it note next to me at bed or wherever I'm sitting or working, because then when ideas come to you, you might be in the middle of painting something and 10 ideas come to you. Well, you probably don't want to pull your notebook out, flip to the page, find where you want to categorize that idea. But you can write it down quickly on a post-it note. And then even if you don't have time to categorize it right away, you can still do this. You can stick it in your notebook and go back later and write it in there. But at least you have it written down. Okay. On to the next tab that I wanted to do a little bit more on was the words. And then this is probably all we'll get done today. If y'all have any questions or want to talk about a specific section more, then let me know. Let me get over to my word tab. So under words, I have topic words and themes. Also, I keep all these, I'm collecting up all these different bookmarks that are at museums and are at my museum anyway, and bookstores. And there's different ones, like I have Picasso and Dali, and they had at our exhibit I guess it's been about a year ago. They had it wasn't American Indians. It was Buffalo Bill. And so and then they sell these bookmarks. So I have different ones. Like there's my Picasso one. I showed those last time. Okay, so on to topic, words, and themes. All right, so last week I told y'all to think about writing out, and even if you just make a heading of this, you don't even have to do it this week or whatever, but just write the idea out, collecting all the occupations you could think of. Every occupation in this era and another era. We talked about that, like for instance, a physician, a nurse, a doctor now might have been called a healer back in the day. So you can do it by era. You can, and there may not be a lot of blacksmiths and horseshoers nowadays, but those are occupations that you may not just think up off the top of your head living in the city or something. But try to make a list and try to do it. I mean, there's nothing wrong with Googling it all, and you can go find, I'm sure, thousands of occupations if you Google it. But here's the process here of using your own imagination, your own thinking, rather than having someone just tell it to you, is just so much more beneficial. So, and it sticks with you longer than just copying down a list. You'll remember them more if you are thinking them up yourself and doing your own thinking. So last time we talked, last week, I suggested that you write down all the occupations that you could possibly think of. So today I wanted to add to that. Where's my other thing I wanted to add to that? I have my other little notes here. Okay. The other list that I want to make up or to compile is eras, different eras, and what they are called, what they like. You might call the 60s, we might just call it the 60s. But what was going on in that era, or the 50s, or even the Middle Ages, or the Renaissance, or you know, cavemen. I mean, just think of any kind of era, time period that you could possibly imagine. And like I said, try to do it first. Try to do it in your own imagination, your own thinking. Write down as many different, hi Pam, hi Art Unit. Try to write down as many of those eras, time periods, that you can think of, and that you could call them whatever you want, and you could make them different. You could make them eras, you could make them decades, you could have it broke out. However, is best for you to just use your thinking about them. And the reason is that then after we could progress and having our ideas collected, we're going to do exercises on how to use those ideas to make your imagination and which helps you in whatever creative endeavor you're in, whether it be writing or whatever exploring top theme, I don't know, anything else you do. I'm just trying to keep it basically for me on art because that's what we most of us are here for. But you can expand this to anything else you want it to apply to. All right. So I don't want to say that's homework. I'm just giving you another uh, more ideas to collect. Do your color combinations, do color names, the occupations, and time periods. We'll just call it that, time periods. Now, I've got tons more. If you want more, I can give you more different lists for you to write down. I think I'll do that. These are some more, and you don't. The reason I hesitate in giving you too many is because you're going to feel like, oh, I've got to get all these lists done. I've got to get all these lists done by next week, and that's not the case. This is just a continuous uh, idea collecting. It's not a homework. You have to have it done. But I'll give you some different list of things that and let me because I'm going to have more new ones all the time. So let me get something to check off so I know which ones. Let me find a highlighter or something so I know which ones I've told you already. All right, got some highlighters here somewhere. All right, just so I can remember which ones I've told y'all. All right. Does anybody have a pen and pencil in hand? All right. So you got your color combination list started. Good. Okay. Thanks, Carrie. Thanks for the input, somebody. I'm so teasing. I'm so teasing you guys. Don't email me. I mean, you can email me. All right. Y'all know what I'm talking about. All right. So I won't get into that right now. Let's go with, all right, I'm going to go with themes today. We'll go with themes. And they could be, you could call them topics or themes. All right. I'll give you a few here for, all right. Well, some of the obvious ones, because I'm always talking about when you're doing, say, for instance, a collage, now people, places, and things. All right. So you can do places. All right, so make you a page, and remember, we're just using printer paper that's got the 3-hole punch. You can buy the 3 holes already punched in a whole ream, 500 sheets of paper. It's just the cheap paper. It's not drawing paper, sketch paper, nothing like that. It's just plain old copy paper, printer paper with the holes pre-punched in it for ease of throwing it in your 3-ring binder. So make a page for places. Now, when you think of places, you might just think Rome, Paris, Atlanta, you know, but you need to think of more than just city and country names. You want to include those. And maybe under places, you will have subcategories of cities, countries, whatever, however you want to divide them up. But you want to think of more than just those things. Think of things like um, topographical places. For instance, think of the seas, the ocean, the mountains, valleys, forests, jungles, hills, outer space, beaches, rivers, deserts, parks, swamps, caves, streams, towns. So think of just not just places in the sense of the names of cities and the names of countries. Break it down to places that you can imagine being. All right. Then, of course, you can do all the different things like that. But here's another thing you can add when you write down all your occupations. Along with the occupations, write down where they work. For instance, if you're writing down nurses, doctors, lab tech, right over next to it, hospital, medical center, or whatever. All right. If you're writing down a farmer, then write down not just farm, but write down the barn or the hay field. Write down different things that you can at the cornfield. Write down not just farmer, but where he actually does the work. He might have to shoe his own horses, or whatever else might go on a farm. Feed the chickens. Whatever. But the more you map out, and you can do this with a mind map or just list them out to start with. To me, it's best to at least have the list to go from, and then you can mind map things out and expand the what you can use those for creatively. But at least start with that. Okay. You're making a list of all the states you've been in. Yay! Yeah, I've been in quite a few too. I've at least driven through them, Carrie. Um, good one, Eileen. All right. So keep a list not just of the occupations, which I'm highlighting off the ones I tell you, but places. I've got tons and tons. I've got lists and lists and lists. All right. So another thing, okay, do this one. Do anything that has to do with weather or the seasons. Now, of course, you're going to write fall, spring, winter, summer. All right. But what happens in those seasons? You're going to have rain. You're going to have wind. You're going to have snow. You're going to have sleet, hail. You're going to have, all the different kinds of the temperatures. It's freezing. It's boiling. It's hot. It's cold. It's warm. It's sunny. It's cloudy. It's overcast. So make you a list of everything that has to do with the seasons or the weather. And you'll see how we use these in your art thinking and imagination as we go along. And I'm sure you've already thought of I hope you have at least thought of some of the uses for all your list of ideas. and how we can combine them and you can use them in your art, your painting, your cards, your whatever it is you're making. Okay. Yeah. So there you go. So they're already in there going to town on more lists. And always remember, if you have to, even make you a post-it note for every one of your categories: who, what, where, when, why, and how. You want to question, because the more you question the simplest things, like you may have learned, uh, why does it rain? Where does the how does we learn that in school, the evaporation and all the different how it all worked, but we probably, most of us, have forgotten that. But if you just start to think about that for a minute, and how do rainbows form, what makes sleet as opposed to snow, why is the more snow wet as opposed I mean, there, if you're unless you're a weatherman or woman, then you're not going to probably have thought about those things for a long time. And I'm just giving you a one little example. I mean, there's millions of things, any kind of things that you could possibly think of. You can think out longer. I'm just giving an example, but if you keep that list handy, all the questions, just keep it handy. You may not think about each of these right now on every topic of, say, the weather or the occupation or the person or the place. Um, you won't think of these maybe every single word, but it reminds you to think about those questions, even if you don't do it immediately or on every word. Okay? So, hey, was it Paula or Pavla that popped in? It was Paula. Hey, Paula. So it scrolls off and I don't see if it's Paula or Pavla. Okay, so another list. Let's keep going. Okay, so under person, place, or thing, you can make your own list just from those. Um, when I say person, you could think of not just the person, you could think of where they're from, their nationality, their country, the place, what they do, what they eat, where they live. You can expand on any of these. I'm trying to keep it kind of general, at least for now. And so, but don't feel like you have to just wait on the next list before you develop your own. This is your idea collecting notebook. Okay. All right. Let's think of another place. Okay, here's a good one. Food. Write down all the foods you can think of. Every kind of food. Now, this will be more interesting to you if you're a foodie, of course. It's not as interesting to me as some other something like, say, time periods. Food is not as to me as thought provoking, but even so, that may be a better one for me to explore because it's not something I think about all the time because I'm not a foodie. But if you are, or you enjoy, and I do enjoy some of the cooking shows and all that, but if it may behoove you to make a list of every kind of food. And then also you could break it out by the food groups. You could have the fruits and vegetables, you could have the meats, the poultry, the dairy, the food groups, to help you think about that. But the thing about that is, just, I'm trying to get an example of something that would be a good example of how to use your ideas. All right, so let's say you're doing a children's book and you're doing a story about a cute dog that meets some little boy, but this dog is odd and he only eats desserts. He doesn't eat anything but desserts. So I'm just throwing you out an example there of how knowing all different kinds of things that can combine unusually will help your imagination. And for story writing, story visions, because that's your art is your visions, and your storytelling's in visual form. So whatever, I'm just throwing some things out there. Okay, the other thing are um, the other thing that you could list are all the animals. And now think of this: not just your animals, but I'm scratching off all the list as I tell them to you. Not just animals like lions and tigers and bears, oh my, and dogs and cats and birds. But you could have reptiles, all the fish, the insects, um, and make a whole page for just those. And like I said, don't get overwhelmed by thinking, "Oh, I've got to go list all these things right now." It's that's not the point. The point is just to keep a column or a page for those things, so that if you do want to, even just seeing the word insects when you're going through your colors, imagine pink, pink, or let's go with the red and the turquoise. Imagine a red beetle or ladybug with turquoise spots and lime green feet. Because you've taken your insect list and your color combinations, then you can mix it up and you'd have a whole new story there. No flamingos. Okay, Eileen, no flamingos. What, Eileen, if those flamingos were lime green, would you like them better? Or is it just because they're pink that you don't like them? So the thing is about some of these tangents I'm going off on here is I hear people all the time. I have no imagination. I can't think of anything to draw. I don't see anything in my head. I have no imagination. I don't know how many times I hear that, and it's just not true. It is not true. It's just that you're not using your imagination. And so by writing down your ideas like we're doing here, we're collecting them to be used. Okay? I have my teacher voice on. Where's Jean? I have my teacher voice. I get into just telling you and describing everything to you that it sounds so serious. But really, I'm trying to help you guys collect ideas, use your imagination for not just your art and your writing, but for using it for problem solving. The more you use your ideas, your creativity, that's where problem solving comes. It's through the creativity. But if you don't think you're creative, you don't think you have an imagination, you just stop yourself right there. You just shut your brain down and think, I can't do it. Well, I'm showing you that you can, because then through your creativity and your imagination, that also goes into resolving, problem solving, or it goes into everything. It goes into everything. Okay, a blinged out. That's funny that you say a blinged out cockroach because in Egypt, you should know this, Linda, because you like Egyptology, is that, they would have blinged out scarabs. Scarabs. So, yeah. And I can remember, see, just by you saying that, it's already sparked in me. I remember my mom had given me when I was probably about 10 years old. Let me find a thing here, something to write on. Well, that's not going to work because that's gray. Let me just get a post-it note. But she had given my sister and I, when we were little, it looked like a beetle kind of thing like this, and it had little, I think it had some, like, not really long legs, but it had these wings like this with their antenna, and it had spots on them, and, kind of like that. And when you squeeze the antennas together, the wings popped open, and inside was a watch. And it was a necklace. So it had a little chain there too. So when you squeeze the antennas together, the wings popped open and inside was your watch. And I think mine was green, like a metallic green and copper or something. I think I might, no, I don't think I have it anymore. But anyway, I remembered it when you said that. So, yeah. Jewelry designers, whatever you wouldn't think that your insect list would benefit you as a jewelry designer. I'm not saying jewelry designers have never thought of insects, but I'm saying people that think they have no imagination. Oh, I could never design any kind of jewelry. All right, next, let me get my highlighter here. You had one too, Eileen, so you know exactly what I'm talking about. Eileen. Oh. Yeah, you squeeze the little antennas and the wings would open and there's your watch inside. That's so funny. All right. So remember your animals, your reptiles, fish, insects, whatever, and plants. All right, now again, you could break out plants by trees, flowers, greenery. You could make a whole garden thing. So now this will help you if you enjoy or hadn't even thought about maybe being a floral painter or I mean think of all the botanists and the details, the close-ups of even cells are all very symmetrical or patterns in them or whatever. Symmetrical is not the right word. Patterns is what I was thinking of. All the patterns that you see in cells or the patterns in leaves. Lots of things. You just write down plants for now, and you can break it out by plants, florals, greenery, trees, bushes, grasses, weeds, however you want to. All right. Okay, we did time periods. Okay. One more and then we'll stop. One more and then we're going to stop the show. Well, let me see if there's anything else I wanted to cover on other tabs. Okay, under the plan, let me tell you one more topic for the words. And then, but under plans, projects, and to do, you could even make a general list of lists you want to make. Like all these topics that I've told you about, you could even put that under plans, projects, and to do. I want to list all the occupations I can think of. Or just write the word occupations on the top of a blank piece of paper and put it under topics, however you want to follow it. The thing is it's what works best for the way you think and the way you organize your collecting, your how you organize anything. It's going to depend on how you lay out your idea book. Okay, one more topic, and that is this. You see this a lot in especially art lists. You'll see, I call it actions. But you'll see these kind of words in especially the creative community, art journaling, all the word list and things that people do. These are the kind of words that you're going to see a lot out there in creatively used. For some reason, that's hard for me to say. But don't let these words stifle you from all the ones that I just gave you to explore. Don't just go by these words I'm getting ready to read to you and say, that's only words I can use. Those are the only creative words. If you limit yourself to the action words, things that you think of like dream, okay, or explore, those kind of things, if you limit yourself to thinking that imagination and creativity is only in those words, you're never going to explore the insects. You're never going to explore the weather. You're never going to explore the eras. You're never going to explore people's occupations if you only think the words are in these type of creative words. Okay, I'm putting that in quotes. But I will read you some. And these are what you need to do. All right, make a note of this. I'm going to even write this here. What to do with all your other lists. Other than, of course, the who, what, where, why, when, and how. That goes on every page. Put a post-it note on every topic. A little post-it note like this with all the questions. Even if you just put a question mark and tabbed that or stuck this on every list page or every main topic. Because you want to do that and you will do it more as we go along and you want to use your imagination. But in the meantime, I'm going to read you a list and I am recording. So if you want to not have to write it down now, you can write some down, pause it, and keep going. These are the action words that a lot of people associate with creativity, but they sometimes limit themselves to these kind of words. I see these words almost exclusively with art journaling and creative talking. Okay. People talk about these words all the time, but they don't talk about the occupations and the people and the places and the insects, you know? So we sometimes get stuck thinking we don't have these action words. I just call them action words. That you can call them, whatever you want. All right, so here we go. I probably have 10 to 50 maybe, and I'm not even near, a full list. But I wanted to have something here to talk about with you. All right, so here we go. Look, notice, seek, explore, consider, optimistic, energetic, consider, observe, passionate, consistent, note, inspired, perspective, collect, compare, contrast, creativity, imagination, intuition, curious, persistent, perception, discern, artistic, originality, examine, contemplate, question, expressive, challenge, opportunity, investigate, dream, examine, explain, search, inquire, research, study, wonder, ponder, classify, invent, learn, imagine, invent, create, innovate, vision, serendipity, listen, curiosity, awareness, and notice. Those are just a few of the action words that are all, you hear those in some form or another all the time in art journaling. And I'm just using that as an example. I'm not down, believe me, I art, don't email me about, oh, you're being mean to art journal. No, I'm just saying that if you're in the art circles, especially on the art circles and groups online, you will hear these words all the time. Nothing wrong with the words. They're great words. We need to do this with all the words, but you need to take those action words and apply them to all your other list. If you took all those, I don't even know, I didn't number them, I just listed them. If you took that, say, 50 words and picked one occupation that you may want to just that's interesting to you. Let's say like Leonardo da Vinci, and inventor, or explorer. Some name a famous explorer or a famous inventor. Whether you go to just plain old Thomas Edison. Okay, if you take that one person and ask all these questions about their occupation and what they were trying to discover, you're going to learn a lot more than just writing out the word dream. That's fine. Dream, goal, you know, um, invent, explore, seek, look, notice. All those are good, but if you're not doing the action, it's just a word on a paper. You have to do those actions. Does that make sense? I'll stop and look at the chat for a second and see if that kind of makes sense, or if y'all have any questions about any of the processes that I've talked about. And I know there's like a 30-second delay. So if anybody has any comments on using these words, not just writing them down, and nothing wrong with them being a pretty word on a calligraphy or something like that. I'm just trying to take us further in exploring what to do with our imagination and our creativity and our art and our writing and our, you know, okay. So I'll just give the chat a second to catch up. Well, it's just using what we know, or what we think we've forgotten, or we learn so much throughout our lives, but we don't really use it enough. Not saying everybody, I don't want to generalize and say nobody ever uses. I don't mean that, because obviously people do, or there'd be no new inventions, there'd be no new discoveries, there'd be no new ideas if people didn't think and write and consider and use those thoughts. Okay. Hey, Julie. Thanks, Barb. And thanks, everybody. So I'm going to stop with that right now. And let's see how long the show's been, even though I did do a little bit of show and tell. It's been like, 45 minutes or so talking about the idea collecting. So, just think about some of this stuff. Just, watch the show and then just stop it and think about what comes to you, because you're going to have so many more thoughts about it than me. Everybody's going to have their own. But if you don't write them down and think about them, it's just a fleeting thought. It's literally a fleeting thought. And nothing will be developed out of those ideas. You need to, we have creativity and imagination for a reason. It's to use it. Okay. No, you haven't, Moomy. You just probably, it's dormant. We'll say that it's dormant because you haven't used it. It's like a muscle or anything else that you have to use. If you don't use it, it could go dormant, but you still have it. You're just not using it. All right, guys. So I'm going to go ahead and stop this portion of the show, and save it, and then we're going to start another show on. We're going to do some jelly plating. So thanks everybody for hanging out. This is episode 3 on the idea collecting and idea using, and we'll get more and more into using the ideas as we have something that we've collected to go from. Okay, so thanks for being here for this episode 3, and I'll be right back.